Good morning, welcome back guys. Well, I'm trying to get better at filming the start of these things, but I'm off to work actually, but I have to load up the trailer onto my SUV. I have a tractor to pick up immediately after work, basically right on my way home, right off the highway. There's a $100 MTD that I'm gonna pick up. But my car is dead this morning. So, you know, like I said, trying to get better at filming this stuff. This is how it goes sometimes. So, I'm gonna show you. Kind of looks like I have lights and everything, but this has been happening to me. I must have like a parasitic draw or something. The alternator is definitely working. It charges the battery. And so once I get it jumped, we're in good shape. But the battery's not terribly old. It might be 3 years old. Might be. I mean, I replaced my old one before I had to, and that wasn't too long ago. So I know this thing takes a charge. I think I'm just losing power somehow. So anyway, I'm gonna get this thing a jump. I'm going to attach my trailer. Then I'm gonna go to work and then I'll pick up the camera and show you what we have. All right, I just arrived at the seller's house. After sitting for 8 hours, my car didn't start, so luckily I brought the jumper. But we're here. We'll see what kind of filming I can get done, but we'll get this thing loaded in a second, and then you'll get a good look at it. All right, well, I couldn't film at the guy's place. He was like all sorts of hyped up and excited. Really wanted this thing gone. So I ended up getting it for $20. The wheels weren't moving, and I tried to spin the engine by hand, and I think the engine's free. I don't know if you can see that wiggle a little bit, but I think it seized to the belt because it kept trying to move the blades when I spun the engine. So yeah, I was like, yeah, this thing's a bit rough. He was like, just make me an offer. He's like, yeah, give me 40 bucks. And, or what did he say? Give me 30 bucks. And I said, well, I only got 20s. And he said, well, give me 20. I was about ready to give him 40. But, so yeah, I walked out of there just 20 bucks. So, 14.5 horsepower. It's got the 42-inch cut. Looks in pretty good shape, honestly. 7-speed variable, MTD style. Everything's there. Seat's in good shape. Deck is in good shape. You know, since it's black, it'll clean up nice, so. All right, we'll get it home. Really good score for 20 bucks. Hopefully it runs. And we're back home with the tractor here. So just to give it another quick look. Now, I've had a few people ask me about the winch I have on the back of this trailer, and I haven't really shown any footage of me using it because I really don't use it that much. But you know, when I loaded this tractor, I actually used ratchet straps, so this isn't even how I loaded this particular one, but this is how sometimes I do load it. I really just use this winch as like a ratchet strap, just to tie things down. So I use the drill to operate the winch, just to loosen that up. And usually what I do is when I store this thing, do that. I loosen it and then tighten it back down. So in most of the videos you'll see the winch like that. That's just because I use it basically as a tie down. So you know, if I do that, if I hook that up with the winch, then I would do 1 or 2 ratchet straps this direction, just so the tractor doesn't shift right or left. So I've tried to load tractors with that. I mean, using this, that's not enough strength. So I do somewhere in the back of my trunk here, there's the manual handle to do it by hand. But yeah, that's kind of tedious. It goes so slow. So, you know, I had some high hopes for that winch. It's the cheapest winch that Harbor Freight offers. They call it a Haul Master. It's got 2,000 pound capacity. It's got 25 feet of wire rope. Yeah, Haul Master. So that thing was pretty cheap at Harbor Freight. So I think it's good though. I mean, it's good for a tie down. Not necessarily good to winch up a broken machine, or like a machine like this one that doesn't roll. So I'm gonna try to get this thing down from the trailer. Obviously loading it, it was 2 guys who did it. I'm just here by myself. So what I'm gonna do is jump the battery real quick, see if I can get things to shift. I mean, there's no reason why this rear end should be locked up, and I think it just, you know, I've experienced it several times with tractors. Sometimes they just do that, and if you can get it to kind of bump into gear once and then back into neutral, then everything's freed up. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and then we'll see if we can unload this thing by myself. Okay, well, I'm getting nothing with the battery jumped, nothing at the key switch. I'm hearing the solenoid on the carburetor click, so that's good news. But either a blown fuse or a bad starter solenoid or a safety switch going on. But I did fix one minor thing. Let's see if I can show you here. So let's see if you can get under there a little bit. Here's the pulley. The pulley before was hitting the mowing deck, and this mount was not connected, so the whole deck was shifted forward and was bumping into that. So when I was at the guy's place, I was trying to spin over the engine, and you know, the deck was shifting a lot, but that's because the pulley was bumping into it. All right, this thing's got good compression. There we go. So here's the compression right there. Woo. Okay, I think that engine's going to be absolutely fine. So engine's free, it's not blown, it's got compression. We got to figure out if we have a fuse somewhere under here, or the starter solenoid is blown. So let me just keep investigating that. Okay, we got the jump pack here. Hard to see, but jump pack's in the way. But I got the positive on the starter. Here's the starter motor. And if I ground this out, well, all you're seeing is sparks. But what's supposed to happen is the starter is supposed to spin. So I mean, right now that starter's looking like it's blown, it's broken. Either that or it's just rusted or jammed up. So I think what I'll do is I'll get these 2 bolts out, and that will let me see the Bendix gear, because it looks like we got some rodent stuff going on, and it might just be all bound up. Here's what it looks like under this cover. Got lots of grass, and I think things are seized up here, so that could be where the problem is right now. I'll try to shock this loose, hit it with a screwdriver, see if I can get it. I'd like to get this thing all the way off. Oh, there we go. See if I can get this to spin. It's starting to come loose here. I got it pretty good and soaked with some budget WD-40. I'm gonna soak it some more. Oh yeah. Alright, that's feeling a lot better. Alright, let's try this again. We'll see if we can get the engine to spin. There we go. If my jump pack wasn't so bad, I think this would be spinning better. There we go. Keys on, choke. Come on, give me something. Battery's giving out. Alright, well, we freed up the starter, so we know we have an engine that, you know, should run. Don't know if we're getting spark, you know, or fuel, so it might be good to spray a little carb cleaner down the intake and see if we can get this thing to fire. I pulled the minivan up to it where you got the battery jumped that way, And got the air cover off, and yep, lots of mouse nest problems in there. Give that a little spritz. Now what I've figured out is if I sit down, if I put my foot on the brake, I can get the key switch to work. I don't have good crank yet. I don't know if this is gonna work because, yeah, I just don't know if this battery's really taking enough juice, but let's give it a try. See, I think I also have to pull this back, which now I'm running out of hands. But yeah, we're in park. I think the sensor for the blades, like if you, it won't start if it's like that. Now sometimes with these MTDs is that little tab gets worn down. I've even like welded a little bit of extra metal there just so this pulls back some. You can see how much further it can pull back if I do it by hand. And there the safety switch is engaged, but maybe here it isn't, if that makes any sense. So let me get you on the tripod, we'll try again. So nothing with the crank until I pull on this. I know you can't really see it, but the engine's spinning over, but it isn't doing a full revolution. Yeah, I need to get a real battery on here. But this is definitely one of the issues. The safety is not engaged until you pull back on it. So either need to, you know, undo that safety or just weld a little bit of metal there, and maybe that will do it. Per usual, I'm striking out with batteries, so I'm gonna have to go to the store and get one, but I just got this thing to roll. The brake was seized. It's still, you know, if I press on it, it still wants to seize, but I got it pulled back here, and I can roll the machine now. That would have been helpful the other day, but all right, let's get this thing off the trailer here and we'll get it into the shed. It'll be a little easier to work on, even if I have to replace that starter in there, because I think it's just drawing a lot of amps. So not sure if it's battery related or starter related still, but either way, let's get this off the trailer, make it a little bit easier to work on. Just for anyone who's kind of interested in this stuff, here's how my trailer works. Hard to do one-handed, but that's how I hold the ramp on. Same thing on the other side, just pull this pin and then this arm swings and then the ramp comes down. All right, let's push this thing over to the shed. Well, I'm just sort of procrastinating going to the store to get a battery, so I got this engine cover loose here, so let's take a look at this mouse nest. Yeah. Oh man, what are the chances we have a coil that's intact? Oh man. All right, let's get some gloves, start pulling that stuff off. Wow, it actually looks fine. Not even a tooth mark in it. This thing is just jam-packed with grass. I'm not actually sure this is a mouse nest. I mean, it looks like it has to be, right? But it doesn't smell at all. Try to avoid getting the stuff in the carb. Really need to stick a paper towel in there. The coil is a bit rusty, but it's intact. Still got a ground wire too. Pretty cleaned up over here now. The engine's looking not so bad, but I'm gonna remove this starter just so we can bench test it. That way I'm not like banging my head up against the wall trying to figure out if I have a bad battery issue or, you know, if it's just the starter all along, which, you know, it was seized, so there's plenty good reason to believe there's something wrong with our starter here. But trying to do this without taking off the side walls of this tractor hood. You know, these MTDs, they come apart in 4 pieces. You got the top, the 2 sides, and then the plastic nose. Quite a piece of equipment to try to take on and off if you've ever tried to do the whole thing. It is very annoying. So even taking off the side is really annoying. All right, so we have like a T40 here on here, and this is always the hard one to get. Might have to get a wrench on it. Yeah, pretty tight in there. So with this tight angle, a 1/2-inch wrench works best.
Here.
Still not easy to work in there. And then we just have a 7/16 to get here, and we'll have the starter off. So let's bench test the starter here. So I got it hooked up to a battery. The negative, positive is on, you can't really see it, but there, it's on the positive terminal. And then we'll just ground it out by touching it, and hopefully this thing spins. Yeah. So, I don't know, that seems okay to me. It's definitely working. And that's that weak battery that was, I was trying to start this thing with. Kind of noisy, but I think that's okay. So it might have just been bad connections. I'm not really sure. Here's another starter on just to compare. I mean, it's about the same. Yeah, I don't see much difference. So, you know, I could put on the starter, but then, you know, then what happens is I hold on to that one, and then I don't know if it's really all that good. So I think I'll put the old one back on because it performs the same as this one. So shouldn't really be anything wrong with it. All right, let's give this a try now that the engine's all cleaned out and the starter's been bench tested. We'll see what it does. Oh, that battery lasted for a second. All right, I think we're on to something here. All right, that was a successful test. At least we know it was probably bad connections. I did clean the battery terminals too, and you know, who knows? I could have had a bad connection there. But the starter works. Engine spins. No weird noises. All right, we desperately need a new battery, so let's go and get it. So we have a new battery in here finally. I know. A little shot of carb spray. I think we're gonna see it go here. Choke on. Oh, maybe it has no spark. All right, let's check for spark. Okay, that just happened when I took the spark plug out. So that could have been me because it was pretty hard to get out. But this thing is soaking wet. It smells like gas. So I bet we're flooded a bit. So I'm going to crank over the engine here and just see if we can get the top end flushed out. Yeah, that was a bit flooded. All right, let's get a new spark plug in the boot and then we'll check for spark. All right, we're gonna be looking right here. We'll see if you can see it sparking. I don't see anything. Nope. All right, I think we got a bad coil after all, so gotta take the engine cover off one more time. Well, it seems pretty reasonable that this would be a bad coil. All sorts of crusty. It was covered with just a sopping wet mound of grass, but yeah, does not smell like mouse pee, and you would think it would, but no mice in here. I think it just rusted out. I don't know how well you can see in there, but I've showed this before, but what I like to do to space out the coil is just get some painter's tape, but I just fold it over on itself. It's basically the thickness of a business card, which has commonly been the width that people like to set the coil at so that it's off of the flywheel, not rubbing. So obviously this is a used replacement coil that I'm putting on here. And I already connected the kill tab, so we're all set there. That's rubbing a little bit, so let me reset that. Well, let's try this again. So we're looking right here. There's the spark plug with the new used coil on. Here we go. Oh yeah, I can see that really well. We have very good spark now. Check it out. All right. Hopefully that came across on the GoPro. A lot of times it doesn't, but plenty good spark. And let's put the spark plug in. Hopefully we don't break the spark plug, and we'll give it another try. Okay, let's see if we got it. Nothing. Oh yeah, gotta do this. Ooh, starter's spinning now. Alright, I got off the seat and then it died. Well, let's give it another shot of spray. Seemed to be running off of its fuel just fine. Just not wanting to start right now. We'll see if that continues to be a problem. All right. Getting a little smoky in here. But to me, that sounds like it probably has a dirty carburetor. No surprise, right? It seems to be running a lot better on full throttle. It was off choke, which was good. But yeah, it didn't really want to idle there. I could tell by looking at the voltage meter that it was charging the battery. So that's good. And then obviously you saw it go into forward and neutral. So we got ourselves a tractor, no problem here. I'm sure we'll be cracking into that carb to clean it, but we definitely have a good machine. Definitely worth $20, right? I know I had to put a new battery on it already, but that's inevitable when you go to sell it. Usually you got to put a new one on, or at least a really good one. So let's put a little more oil into it, and then we'll drive it around a bit, make sure it mows. So I just topped off the oil. Let's see if this will start without carb spray. So we'll do choke and full throttle. And then I gotta, pardon my arm, I gotta pull up on the mowing deck. I'm just gonna by hand pull on these blades and see if anything's seized up. Oh yeah, that's seized. Oh man, yep, the spindle's completely seized. Yeah, that deck's gonna have to come off. Let's check this other side. Seized as well. Wow. Yeah, sorry you can't see what's going on, but yeah, both spindles are seized. So, well, let's just ride it a bit more. We'll have to get into that. You know, it's $20 for a reason, right? The starter doesn't engage. It's starting right up now. Nice and smooth and quiet. She rides really nice. Go do a hill over here and make sure this variable drive isn't slipping. Slipped and it went into mowing. Right, engine is sputtering a little bit under load, and then it just cut out. So either it's not getting fuel going up the hill, or I don't know. Let's fire it up. Starter. Wow, maybe that starter is going to be a problem. slipped and I had to stop, and then I threw it into gear and it grabbed again. So I kind of want to try that again. Alright, so that was pretty rough. We got our hands full with this one. So we have seized spindles. That's not good news. Hopefully they break free, but then chances are they're going to be really noisy bearings, and you know, we're going to probably have to replace the bearings in those spindles. What else? It seems like it's got a dirty carburetor, so seems like if I'm on an angle or something, maybe it's sucking up some water in the bottom of the bowl. We could try to drop the bowl and just get the junk out, or I might need a full carb clean. All right, the other thing is I think it needs a new drive belt. So these variable drives are not the best, and they need OEM belts, and you know, everything has to be firing on all cylinders for the variable drive system to be working good. So you know, by the looks of it, we have a brand new deck belt, so that's good. I just can't smoke the belt anymore. When I was peeking in, when I was doing the battery, I could see that the drive belt had cracks in it, and that, you know, that's not a good sign for a variable drive system. So yeah, a bit of a basket case. It's definitely worth all of that work though. I should definitely do, you know, it's not like I'm going to junk this thing. You know, this is actually, I have this same mower, might even be the same year, because I think this is a 2000, and mine's either 2001 or 2000, and it's a hydrostatic. It's got the is it 18 horse? I think it's got the 18 horse opposed twin and a 46-inch deck, so it's the same yard machine's just a little bit beefier, and I like it. It's fine, you know, mow's pretty good. These decks are terrible to get on and off. I've done it many times on mine, and I'm not looking forward to taking this deck off and then trying to get it put back on, but it needs it, so you know, we'll get it done. So this is certainly a project, so stay tuned. Might be a long video, but we'll get all that done. And then there's the question of how nice do I want this thing to look. You know, do I think it needs a full paint job? You know, I don't know, we'll see. I bet once I clean it up, I'll probably say no. Maybe I'll just do a little touch up on the deck, but I was kind of thinking, you know, paint the whole thing a new black, but maybe the black is in decent enough shape, you know, and then with all the work that I do on it, do I really want to take everything apart and paint it? Probably not. But you know, then again, this thing's not going to be worth too much, so yeah, I think I just talked myself out of painting this whole thing. All right, I'm gonna go take a break from working on this thing because it's been several hours already, and yeah, well, I'll turn the camera back on and you'll see what happens next. There's the mowing deck off the machine. Had to jack it up pretty high, and here are all the pieces that come off of it, and honestly there's probably more because I left some attached. And then there's this thing which, like, you know, basically goes here and holds it on, so that's a big part of it too. You need a hammer, and I think I used a spike. Where did I put the spike? Anyway, I used something to punch that out, and yeah, so now the deck's off. We're going to inspect the underside, but I did find the year on this thing. It is a 1998, and I got that from looking up this 13AM675 G6062, and it comes up with a 1998 Yard Machines by MTD. Yeah, so she's pretty old. Well, let's take a look underneath. So far, nothing looks out of place. In fact, the underside looks really great. So I gotta prop this up so I can get two hands on these blades, see if we can crack them loose. You know what it is? It might just be the belt. The belt is seized to the pulley. I got the belt off the pulley, and that's not so bad. That's actually a good bearing. These things have not moved in a while. Blades are sharp though. Gotta be careful. That one's not as good. It's not terrible, but it's definitely noisy and probably should be replaced. I already put in an order for bearings. I actually did a double order just so I have some extra. So those should be here tomorrow, so we could easily do that one, but you know, might as well. I don't know, that's that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I could do all of them or just this one. We'll see. Noisy, it's spinning pretty good, but it's a little noisy. So I got the belt guides covers off, so the belt's completely off and nothing's rubbing. So check this out. There's a little bit of noise in this one, but I don't know. I have these bearings coming. I might as well replace them, but honestly, you know, if I wasn't making this video and didn't have those bearings already coming, I probably would just leave this. That's not bad. What do you guys think? Would you replace the bearings on that? And you got to answer honestly too, because you know it's a bit of work, you know, and when you have a whole bunch of other projects going on, you know, you got to weigh this stuff out and your own time, you know. But yeah, maybe we'll do it. Nice, I got them. All 8 bolts came out without breaking them. So hopefully you can appreciate the process I went through right there. Just using some propane, some multi-purpose lubricant blaster from Tractor Supply, and just took my time with the impact on, I had it on the lowest setting there on 1, and just kept working it. You know, I'd move it a little bit, and then you saw me use some of the blaster and more heat. That worked great. It took some time, but it's worth it, you know, saving yourself from having to buy all new spindles. You can just do the bearings now. Yeah, I think we'll do a full restoration on this deck. I'll, you know, wire wheel the underside and do some rust preventative maintenance on it. And then this top side is in really good shape, but I think we'll grind it down and repaint it. You know, still not planning on painting everything up top, but maybe we'll do the deck right. Since it's getting all new bearings, it'll be pretty sweet. The bearings came in, so let's try to get the shaft out of the housing here. Need a punch or something. See if we can go with just a big bolt. Yeah, that should work. It's coming out. So we need a longer bolt. Shaft out, and then of course you got to get the bearings, but let's do the other one first. It's moving. Boom! Knocked into a glass jar and didn't even break it. Have my official bearing removal tool. Just a really bad screwdriver. Try this bolt in here. Yeah, it's starting to move. We'll try this. It's a spark plug remover. Got it. All right, that one is all done. Let's get the other one out here. stuck in there. Happens a lot where the screwdriver goes through and it gets lodged. There we go. This bearing is starting to move though. See that? Popped right out. All right, we'll get these both cleaned up a little bit and then get all our pieces together and put in the new bearings. Okay, we're back after a little time. I've had these bearings in the freezer, so hopefully they're cold and will slip in. I cleaned up the inside of this so it's not so rusty. And just to let you know, I did damage the threads on these. I had to use my cutoff wheel to cut off, like, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch probably. Clean that up so those thread on. So both of those are in the same condition. So when I was hitting this spindle, whoops. So when I was hitting this spindle with a hammer to get it out, I should have put the nut on it. That was me just not thinking. Anyway, got that sorted. Let's open these up. They're the wrong size. So yeah, I ordered the wrong size bearings. That's all right. The right size are coming. They'll arrive tomorrow. But in the meantime, let's get this mowing deck all cleaned up and restored. So I'll put you on time lapse. We'll grind it down a little bit. We'll do the underside. I'll undercoat the underside, and we'll make this thing looking real nice. We're all cleaned up here. I ground that down really good. And I don't really have, I don't know, it's just some paint. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint this, and then I'll try the used motor oil trick and slather this up with some used motor oil, and people say that works pretty good. I have 2 new drive belts for this machine, so I got it up on the chain hoist here. I actually just got off the double stack pulley, and that gets access to this main drive belt. Now this longer one goes to the variable drive system itself. It's like 2 pulleys in one, and it changes size depending on how fast you need to go. And I kind of forget how to get access to it. So I know the other one is sort of like under the battery box, so I'm gonna have to put down the tractor and look into that. But this was honestly a big hurdle because sometimes the double stack pulley is seized to the shaft of the engine, but that was not the case on this one, so that's great news. So let's proceed. Let's see if we can get all these belts off. Took off the shifter bezel there, and that's how you get access, at least to this mid pulley here. So it looks like you have a belt on top, and then the drive belt that I was working on is on bottom. So you got to get this one off first, and I got to remember how to do that. This is the one that's more worn out. I can see some nicks in it right here. This one's actually okay, but might as well replace them both since I have both belts. All right, got to study this a little bit, and I'll see how to take this belt off. Just watched a Terrell Fixes All video, and Terrell showed me how to do it. So he says put it into 7th gear, and then, hard to see, but I can manipulate this tensioner now, and then I should be able to just pull this belt off. I'm even doing it one-handed, so not too bad, right? So I got that belt off, and then we'll have to just go back here and work it around this big pulley that comes off the transmission. At first I thought I was gonna have to take the snap ring pliers, and there's a little snap ring on top of that variable drive, but I don't have to do that, so that's good. Here's another thing you have to do. There's 2 bolts here, 2 3/8, and you have to get those undone too. So that's on this left side of the machine, and what that does is there's a bracket that holds this shifter. Let's see if I can show you. And if you don't take that bracket off the wall, you can't get the belt out. So I got the belt loose here, but it's locked in there with that bracket. So Terrell says just undo those 2 bolts. The bracket comes off the wall just a little bit, but there's a spring attached. Leave the spring on the bracket, don't mess with it too much, just enough where you can get that belt up and over that shifter. Okay, this bracket is loose now. You can get it off the wall like that, and then the belt can come up and over, and you can snake it out through the shifter on this end. There we go. So look how bad that belt was. Woohoo! Pretty glad we didn't sell it to somebody with that. Now those are such a pain, right? Like no one, like a regular person can't do that job, you know? So these belts are really close in size. All right, this is the front belt. They're so close in size, the 2 belts that we need, but yeah, I believe that's the right one. Looks correct. It's got like the wide V groove, right? Doesn't come to much of a point. It's very flat. This one has a wider V, so hopefully that's okay. You know, this one actually looks really wide. That looks sort of like that one, but I think those are different size. Yeah, definitely this groove seems a little different, but we're gonna roll with it and hope that it comes out okay. All right, with the top belt off, I can now get this off, I believe. Might have to fight with it a little bit with both hands, but now this belt can come off. It's just hung up over there. Yeah, and Terrell's right. You can, if you move this, let's see if you can see it. This belt guide, if you just push it that direction, you can get this belt out too. Woo! All right. Both belts out without removing any complicated pulleys. That's great. And here's what these belts look like The replacement one is this gray one, and they look the same. So that's good. So this is the front one. I'm going to put that on now, and then we can go and do the rear belt. Okay, I got the front belt on, and then I put the rear belt on as well. And I bolted back down this shifter bracket. Okay, so another step to do is get this front end up again, and we'll get the belt situated on the shaft with that double stack pulley. So back under the machine with the double stack pulley, there's a spacer that goes on first. That can go all the way up. It goes on in this direction. Won't really stay on its own, so. There's these belt guides that are on the frame, and you have to make sure the belt goes around those, or goes inside of those. You know, with that spacer, of course. All the belts are put back together. We can take it on its first ride. Let's see if it can do the hill without like bogging down and stopping. What was happening there, just in case you don't know, with these variable drives, if you disengage and then re-engage, you know, when the belt is slipping, sometimes when it's worn out, it can like re-grip a little bit better, but only for a time, and then it'll kind of slip again. But like you can like keep slamming it into gear, and it kind of will regain traction momentarily. But let's see if the new belts alleviate that problem. Something's wrong. It's slipping on something. So all of a sudden, it seems like the tractor started working after giving me fits there with the belt. It seemed like it was slipping nonstop, and then all of a sudden, here I am driving around the yard. And I'll tell you right now that ultimately these belts did not work. I don't know why it fooled me so well. So here I am going up this like medium hill, and I use this hill a lot because it sort of represents what a lot of people would have in their yards. Dodging some trees right now, but basically just using this hill a bunch, and that seemed to go well. So then I went down this big slope to try to go back up it, and I used this hill to really test it, and it did it great. I give it a little thumbs up there, and I'm pretty convinced that I have this thing fixed, but I'll tell you that I don't. Well, I lost the footage where I discovered that those aftermarket belts were not working consistently, so I decided to place an order for OEM belts, and then I started working on the mowing deck here. How's that looking? Pretty sweet. It's all wet, so super shiny right now. But yeah, this is the semi-gloss, and I like to use it on the mowing decks. I like to use it on most things if I'm painting tractors. The flat is just a little too dull for me. And gloss, I do use it sometimes if they don't have semi-gloss. It is pretty shiny though. Well, it's a day or two later, and let me show you what I had done. I bought the wrong size bearings. So I kind of was frustrated and just shut the camera off quick, but anyway, I ordered the right bearings, I hope. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, let's see if I can read some part numbers here, because I mean, those are like the two common ones, but this one is 6203RZ, and it's the smaller one. This is the 62042RS. So I know with this one, 2RS means that it's double sealed. Both sides are sealed. Sometimes you'll get bearings where only one side is sealed. It might be like 2 rubber. I don't think it's rubber, but 2RS. This one ends with RZ, but in any case, I did look into it because I could find the ones that were in here were 6204RS, not 2RS, even though both sides were sealed. So I spent a long time like digging into like what these numbers meant and realized that 2RS just means both sides are sealed. Turns out the old ones, both sides are sealed, but it just had it listed as RS. So that threw off some of the local shops I was calling. You know, I said RS and like 2RS, and I'm like, well, I don't know, it says RS, and they couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle that. So wow, that goes right in. That's great. So I cleaned that up pretty good, huh? All right, let's put these back together. Pardon the noise of my temporary shelter here. It's getting blown around in the wind. All right, let's actually start by adding the bottom bearing first. So that has to go like all the way in, because let's not ruin any more threads, because this has to sit down like recessed into it. Like that. Okay, then we have 2 spacers. Then we'll have another bearing, the larger size. That one just slips right in. There we go. And then what will happen is the pulley will go on top, and then you'll get the nut that goes on top like a cherry. As I drop it under my workbench, and it's gone forever. Alright, no worries, we found it. Took a little while though, of course. Alright, let's do the other one. I dropped that one! You gotta be joking! I see it though. You ever spend a day just dropping stuff? Alright, I'm sure you've been there. Let's do the bottom one. That's all the way in. Yep. Okay. 2 spacers. And the last big bearing. Now, I don't have any more spacers. I mean, I can get one from the shed. So let's just see what I can get. I was using the spacers to get these down. It's going great. Going right in. That's awesome. I'll find a little, a socket or something to put on there just to drive it down, the last little tiny bit. But great. Rebuilt. Sweet. Check out this mowing deck so far. Just mounted the spindles. Wasn't much. Let me show you the underside. Came out really great. I don't think I'm going to do anything else besides this with the underside. I think that's good. I'm happy with that. So we have the pulleys on top that are looking kind of rusty. I think I'm going to wire wheel those and then paint those black as well. And this thing is going to be very, very nice. All right, I do have some interesting news though about how this yard machines drives. So as you saw previously, I put on new belts, and at first it wasn't seeming like it was engaging. It was kind of slipping. I was even on some flat ground and it was slipping a bit, and then all of a sudden it worked and I was able to do the hill and I was feeling pretty good about it. I turned off the camera. I go to use it again. It won't stop slipping now. Only slips. So I put in an order for OEM belts, which I know I mentioned it earlier. I should have done. I was kind of convinced. I don't know. I made the wrong decision to buy aftermarket belts. Okay, and really, I'm hoping that the OEM belts for these MTD variable drives, that solves the issue. Either some of the dimensions are off, as you know, one of the belts, the dimensions was off just slightly from the original, and I think that's what's causing it, honestly. But anyway, when those OEM belts arrived, now that they were $40-something a piece, so $80 more on belts after already buying belts, right? Kind of frustrating, but I got to get this. I can't sell it at all if it doesn't move, right? So got to do something. Between the OEM belts that are coming, the 2 belts that were on it, and then the 2 belts that I bought for aftermarket, between those 6 belts, I'm hoping we have a winning combination. So yeah, that was a frustrating thing that happened, but I hope we will get it solved, and this little Yard Machines MTD is gonna get way more love than it should. But I hope at least maybe it'll make a fun video. I don't know if I'll make much profit, but it'll make a fun video. So this is what we have for pulleys on top. There's like this plate that this is the brake actually. So when you return the mowing deck to the highest position, it hits a brake pad, and that slows down the blades and stops the blades. So I'm going to clean all that up. I got my gloves on just because you have to get like really close to the wire wheel, so yeah. So I think I fixed this part. What I did was I JB welded a washer to the lever that pushes down on the safety switch. So I'm not touching this thing. Normally I'd have to yank on this. I got this guy on magnet duty going around using the magnet sweeper to pick up anything like nails or whatever, washers. And then this one is sweeping. All hands on deck here. So, alright, Parts Tree delivered my belts a little sooner than I thought, so I think what I'll do today, it's Sunday afternoon, is I'll put you on time lapse and I'll swap out these belts. So these are OEM belts, and I'll walk you through the parts numbers. I recommend these parts numbers, but only if this works. If this doesn't work, then I don't recommend them. So one belt is 9540370, and then the other belt is 9450280A. This is what the part used to be. Same thing with this. This one had a number that was like a 754 number, and then they get superseded to a 954 type of number. Anyhow, so we have those OEM belts, something like $80 for both of them. We have the belts that the machine came with, and then of course we have the aftermarket belts on here. So I'm hoping with everything we have, we can get this sorted out. So let me put you on a tripod and put it on time lapse. You already watched me do this once before, so I'm just going to do that same process and hopefully get this thing driving right. I can't even begin to tell you how quick that goes when you have just recently done the job. I don't know if that was 10 minutes. You know, felt like less. So knock that out quick. So the big question, will it work? So let's hop on the machine, we'll drive it around, and hopefully we have a fully operational drive system on this thing. So you're coming along with me again. Well, I now recommend those drive belts from partstree.com. Don't buy anything else when it comes to an MTD variable than those exact belts, because they look identical to the aftermarket for the most part, but the performance is undeniable. It works completely with the OEM belts. Gotta get them. So it's great news that everything drives correctly now, and we can start working on this mowing deck, which is looking fantastic. So things like these pulleys that I cleaned up, painted on one side. Looks like it needs to be beaten through a little bit more. Seems like it's not sticking out. The spline isn't sticking out enough. So I'll put the nut back on and hit that shaft. You can see the gap in there, trying to show you. So that shaft has to sit up recessed into the spindle. There we go. Now those grooves are sitting up and they fit onto the pulley like that. And then with this style, you have this little brake that fits on top. And then I painted these nuts here, so they all look nice. I'll get that threaded on. Need 2 hands. So the other side fits right onto those splines. This has a little part that sticks out and it goes right into that hole. So then they're kind of like synced up. Not a sound. Love it. That's great. Well, it's looking like rain, so I think before I put the mowing deck on, I'll give this thing a power wash because I have my power washer out. It desperately needs a cleaning. It's not very nice down there. Very oily. Right, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll clean this up, and maybe I'll change the oil after that, and then we'll put the mowing deck on probably another day. So let's knock this out before we close up shop today.
Dad, can I power wash it?
You can help me. Yep.
Yes.
That is a lot better. This black paint is in great shape. It's really not chipping or rusting anywhere. It was covered with a lot of like moss, you know, green film. Check it out. Pretty smart looking though. I'll have to clean the head lens still, but got under there pretty good. Much cleaner down there, wouldn't you say? Almost looks like it was well cared for. Not neglected, right? These things are pretty good workhorses though. I mean, it's got a reliable engine on it, so that's a good starting place, right? Check out this level of grime. This is just filthy in here. Ooh, satisfying. YouTube usually likes that stuff, right? As you can see, this thing didn't come with any headlights. Oh well. who's mowing in the dark anyway, right? Here's the lens itself. Actually not too bad. Just a little discolored. Everything's got like algae on it. There we go. About to do the oil here. Here's the oil plug. It's one of those squares, and I think we should be able to get it with a 3/8 socket extension. Seems to fit right in there. Yeah, that works. There we go. Oil looked pretty good on this thing, but obviously as it's coming out, you can see it needed to be changed. But it wasn't terrible. Smells good too. Smells like relatively fresh oil. But if we don't change it, then we can't say we did an oil change. And I'll tell you what, the people who sell stuff near me, they don't do any oil changes. They don't do new batteries, they don't do air filters, they don't do spark plugs. They do the old ridden hard and put up wet. That's usually what you see around here. So having a nice service machine goes a long way. We'll put the mowing deck on now. I'm gonna set it on time lapse. It's a little bit difficult to film, and I have all my parts and pieces here, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. It'll be a bit of a struggle. We'll set it on time lapse, and then hopefully we'll be cutting some grass in just a minute. It looks good. Hopefully we have it done correctly. I'd love to be able to tell you which order to do things, you know, but I don't know if you could tell how I did it. Was I had to undo some of it. You know, I started with the back, but then what that did is that pulled it really close to the rear tire, and I couldn't do the fronts. So I undid that, did the fronts, then I was able to do that in the back. I don't know, I had to undo that spring too that MTDs have for these style, and yeah, it's just a lot of back and forth. I mean, I'd love to know the correct procedure. I mean, I think I did it there. I guess start with the front. I don't know. But all right, we're gonna go test it out. That's the most important thing. Let's see if it mows. Well, it did mow great, but it was surging a little bit under load, and I think we owe it to this thing to inspect the carburetor. Another interesting thing I noticed just now was, you know, this thing has a choke, but it also engages choke if you go all the way up, and that was confusing me a little bit. You can kind of see it in there, so the thing it's pushing right there, that's the choke. And that's getting activated with the throttle. Which you shouldn't really have two ways to activate choke. That's confusing. So I guess the question is, does this thing do anything? It's hooked up to the carburetor, but it doesn't... Huh. Actually, you know what? It doesn't move the choke. You can see it in there. That's weird. And this is the original engine, too. That's really odd. I gotta figure that out, too. So, here's the first thing. Here's the choke cable. And I think it would hook into a piece right there, but that looks broken off. So, yeah. So I guess this was set up to have choke in two different ways. I do think that's really odd. I believe I could fix that. I could. You can pull this little baffle thing out, and then you should be able to pull this whole mechanism out, and I could replace it with one that doesn't have a broken piece, and then you could get choke twice. I don't know. I guess that's important to this model. All right, let's keep taking this carburetor off. While we're in here, we could do a new fuel filter, and we could put on a shutoff for it too. So we have a 13mm wrench here that's been filed down, so you can sneak it into hard to reach places like this. Otherwise, that's really hard to get off. A little rusty in there, but not that bad. I was expecting worse. I have one of these Briggs & Stratton screwdrivers. They're meant for taking out the jets. As long as it wants to play nice, which they usually don't. Not for me anyway. That looks like it's been egged out a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to get that out. It's starting to come out. Don't love the way it feels. I'm going to put it back in. You can kind of tell like it's just a little too stripped. It's actually just spinning in there. Huh. It's a little weird. I'm going to call an audible here. I don't like the way this jet spins in there. I can't get it out and I can't tighten it down. So I'm going to throw on this carburetor. Plus it has the hole there for the choke ×2. So let's pop this on, see if it makes a difference. That carburetor works great, and I fixed the choke cable. So let's mow with it a little bit and see if it bogs down. We gotta dodge some volleyball players. All right, that seems like it's doing great. No bogging at all. So I think we definitely needed to swap a carb there. It's nice to have that choke cable working, and it's mowing great. I just did some more mowing with this, and I'm very happy with the way it's running and driving. So the engine was flawless, and so was the trans, and I was cutting all along all these hills up here and no problems. So I think we're just about done with this thing, and I'm gonna polish it up and take some photos for Facebook and get this thing sold. Yeah, I was just joking around earlier when I said, who mows at night? Everybody mows at night. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I purchased those headlights because these were missing. So they weren't in there at all. So I just bought those. Those are brand new. And they were the same price that people were trying to sell their used ones for. So I bought those off eBay. I had to put in a new switch. Took a little while to diagnose that. Yeah, this thing is ready. I actually have a buyer for this. Someone came by to buy a lawnmower from me, and so I sold them a pretty cheap push mower, and then they were wondering about a weed whacker, and I was like, I do have a weed whacker I'm trying to get running, and I just gave that to him because I really didn't want to keep messing with it. And then he said, what's the deal with this tractor that's sitting out here in the lawn? I said, oh, I'm just, trying to wire up some headlights right now, and it's basically ready. And he said, can I buy it next weekend? He wants to contact me on Thursday. So it's Sunday right now. I said, yeah, sure. I won't even list it for sale. Just come back and buy it next weekend. So I'm going to sell this for $500. I think that's a fair price for a 1998 that I don't even have to advertise or whatever. Just gonna sell it quick. Pretty smart looking machine though, I think. I guess I have a soft spot for these yard machines, but what do you guys think? How much would you list this for? What would you sell it for? Would you do all this work to it? Would you put in new bearings and redo the deck and do the belts 2 times over? Did I do like an overkill restoration, or is it just right? I hope it's just right. Hoping this will be a nice machine for that guy. Well, I hope you guys don't mind that this was kind of a longer episode, but that tractor really needed some attention. But I had a lot of fun doing that project, and hopefully you had a lot of fun watching it. Consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. If you guys haven't ever tuned in before, again, my name is Kyle. The channel is called Kyle by the Creek. And this is what we do around here. We fix up tractors or other small equipment and resell it. So I hope you guys tune in for the next one. Catch you next time.